Hello and welcome into the first Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series preview show of 2019 right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series preview show, it is the Super Bowl. It is the biggest race of the season. It is the Daytona 500, and I am so glad we are here at Daytona 500 time. We're getting back into the season. I am excited. I am excited we're getting back into racing. I'm not super excited about the racing we're probably going to see in this race today, though. I haven't seen a lot that has impressed me throughout speed weeks. It was single file around the top during the Clash. It was single file around the top during the Duels. It was single file around the top in the Xfinity race, and those are cars that should have actually been more able to race with each other, more so than what the Cup cars are doing, and I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic that this is going to be good, but I'm not convinced we're going to see much of a race. So let's get into what has happened so far over the past week, really the past few days, because really what we're going to look at here is the starting lineup and then the 2 practice sessions that were race practices. They had 5 total practice sessions for the Daytona 500. 2 of them were before qualifying, so those were strictly qualifying practices. Then we had 3 practice sessions between Friday and Saturday. The final one, not much really happened. It was just kind of final shakedowns. Everybody, for the most part, only went out for a lap or 2 or 3 just to make sure the car still felt right heading into today. So really, for practice-wise, we're really only going to look at practice 3 and practice 4 from Friday. So let's start off with the starting lineup because that was set Thursday from the Duels. The front row actually set on Sundays. William Byron and Alex Bowman locked into the front row from their qualifying speeds on Sunday. Then you've got row 2, which are your dual winners, Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano. Rest of your top 10 in the starting lineup are going to be Ricky Stenhouse, Clint Bowyer, Paul Menard, Eric Almirola, Matt DiBenedetto, Denny Hamlin. The rest of the field, for the most part, set by finishing position in the duel. Duel number 1 will be your inside row. Duel number 2 will be your outside row. There is one exception to that when we get to the back of the field, and I will explain that when we get there. And as we flip through the field here, you'll notice row 9, Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott. They've fallen a little bit back here. They were 3rd and 4th from qualifying speeds. Did not have the greatest duel for either one of them, although I find it kind of funny that they are still starting side by side, albeit 7 rows behind where they qualified in single car speed. Parker Kligerman back here in row 13 starting in 25th. He made it into the race, raced his way in the duel, as did Brendan Gaughan down here starting in 30th. Those were the 2 cars that raced in from the duels. And then as we get to the last page here, 39th and 40th, Tyler Reddick and Casey Mears. Those are the 2 drivers in off qualifying speeds that were not already locked into the race with a charter. Casey Mears, of course, in that 27 car, a second Germain Racing entry for this weekend. It's basically premium motorsports equipment, but it's being entered as a Germain Racing car. 2 cars did not make this race. That is the 71 of Ryan Truex, the Tommy Baldwin Racing entry, and the 66 of Joey Gase, the MBM Motorsports entry. Alright, so that is your starting lineup for the Daytona 500. Now we're going to look at practice speeds, see who's good in the draft, who is fast this weekend, and who has a good shot at this race. So we're going to start off with practice number 3, look at your top 10 here. Kyle Busch topped practice number 3 on Friday, a time of 44.936, 200.285 miles per hour. That was his fast lap in that practice session. Martin Truex, though, not far behind, just shy of 200ths slower than Kyle Busch, 44.955. So these 2 JGR teammates, very quick. Eric Jones also fast there in the 4th spot with a 44.965. Ryan Preece up here kind of surprising me in that third spot. He was very quick as well. Back here in sixth, we've basically got the fifth Joe Gibbs racing car in Matt DiBenedetto in that Levine family racing car. That car kind of filling the void that Furniture Row Racing left when they departed last year. I'll be interested to see going forward throughout the season if they have the same level of speed that Furniture Row had, or if they're a tick behind that. It'll be interesting to see going forward if that happens. And then, of course, Denny Hamlin, the fourth JGR car back here in seventh. So those JGR Toyotas, very, very fast this weekend from Daytona. We got Chase Elliott down here in the 10th position as well. Bubba Wallace and David Reagan both also fast as well. And then Ryan Newman. I know I'm jumping around here. I'm just kind of looking through this list and names are popping out at me at different moments. Ryan Newman is impressing me here in the 5th position as well. I did not expect a lot of speed out of Ryan Newman when he went over to Roush Fenway Racing. I'm pleasantly surprised by this. We'll see if this translates into the rest of the season or if this is just a restrictor plate racing thing. As we know, Roush Yates engines are very stupid quick at restrictor plate races and have been for a long time. So it may just be the fact that it's a plate race, and that's why Ryan Newman is so quick in that 6 car. We'll have to see if that translates to the rest of the season. Practice number 4, also on Friday. Paul Menard topped that practice. He was the guy that dominated most of the clash until the incident on what turned out to be the final lap. 44.830, the fast lap for Paul Menard in this practice, actually quicker than the lap that Kyle Busch put down in practice number 3 at a speed of 200.758 miles per hour. Jamie McMurray in the 40 car, second fastest on this list, 44.844, just shy of Paul Menard's lap there. Interesting that Jamie McMurray is up here in second. I mean, we only had 29 cars go out in this practice session, so not a complete look at the field of where these guys stack up, but that was one thing that I think was brought up a couple times in the duel, that it seemed like Jamie McMurray was a bit slower than everybody else, than the front runners, and he was kind of holding up the lines in the duel. So that's interesting that he's up here second quickest on the board here. Maybe they've figured something out with this car in these couple of practice sessions that has allowed them to find that speed that they didn't necessarily have in the duel. Roush Fenway teammates Ricky Stenhouse and Ryan Newman, they're 3rd and 4th. So the Roush Fenway cars are actually really fast and could be contenders here this weekend. Then we've got 3 Stewart-Haas teammates in Clint Boyer, Eric Almirola, and Daniel Suarez, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And then 3 Penske teammates, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, 8th, 9th, and 10th. So a lot of teammates here, a lot of Fords in the top 10. In fact, 9 of the top 10 spots in this practice session were Fords. In fact, as I continue to look down the list here, 12 of the top 13 positions are Fords. As we've got Kevin Harvick in 11th, another Stewart-Haas Ford, and then David Reagan and Michael McDowell, 12th and 13th, to front row Fords. And then the 3rd front row Ford back in 16th in Matt Tifft. So the JGR Toyotas are fast, and all of the Fords seem to be really fast. So there's a lot to look at here in terms of who actually is fast this weekend, and it doesn't seem to be a lot of Chevys. If you are a Chevy fan, I don't know that you have a lot to look forward to in this race. I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But I'm not seeing a lot of speed out of Chevys. Jamie McMurray, the lone Chevy in the top 13 in practice number 4 for the 500. So after looking at these practice sessions and looking at qualifying and everything else here, who do you think is going to win this race? We've got this running as a premiere right now. This is a pseudo live video. We've got a live chat going right now. Let us know in the chat who is going to win this race. And if you're watching this video later, not as a premiere, leave it down in the comments. Who is going to win this race? As for my pick in this race, I've said this a lot, and I will continue to say it because I don't think I've ever said anything more true in my life. Picking a winner at Daytona or Talladega, for that matter, is like throwing darts at a dartboard. You don't know. It's such a wild card. Who knows? I mean, I think at this point it's probably safe to assume that I probably shouldn't pick a Chevy, but who knows? As soon as I say that, a Chevy's probably going to win. It seems like the Fords are extremely fast. The Toyotas are extremely fast. It depends on which practice sheet you look at as to who's faster. Practice number 3, the Toyotas were really fast. Practice number 4, the Toyotas didn't go out. So we don't know where they stacked up against the Fords in this practice, but the Fords were running faster times in practice number 4 than the Toyotas ran in practice number 3. So there's a lot to take in here. There's a lot to take into consideration. That being said, my pick for a winner of the Daytona 500, he came very close a couple years ago. Came about that close to winning the Daytona 500 and lost it to a driver that is now his teammate. I am picking Martin Truex Jr. to win this year's Daytona 500. Yes, Martin Truex Jr., first race out for Joe Gibbs Racing in that 19 car. He goes to victory lane in the Great American Race. Starts off that relationship with Joe Gibbs Racing with a bang. Goes to victory lane in the biggest race of the season and starts off what probably will be just another really good year out of Truex basically the same thing we've seen for the past few years. So Martin Truex Jr. wins the Daytona 500 and gets an early playoff berth. So that is my prediction for the Daytona 500. What is your prediction? Leave it down in the live chat if you're watching this as a premiere, or down in the comments if you are watching it later. And I hope you're ready for a great race, because, like I said, I hope it's a great race. What we've seen so far this weekend, I'm not confident that the majority of the race will be that good. I think the last 20 laps, no matter what the rest of the race is, will be good, because it seems to be how the Daytona 500 generally shakes out. No matter what type of race it has been, it seems like the last 20 laps or so get really crazy. As soon as we get down to that point where they kick the lights on, because usually this race seems to bump into just after the sun sets. I think that's where things are going to start getting a little crazy. So, if nothing else, I think that last 20 laps is going to be pretty exciting. So, I hope you're ready. I am too. I am so excited that we are back into the racing season. I don't know what to do with myself over the off season, so I'm just happy that we are back into this time of year. So, I think that'll do it, though, for this Cup preview show. Rewind show for the Daytona 500 coming up later this evening, once we can get that recorded and uploaded. And then, of course, Pole Position coming up. The premiere of Pole Position Season 2 coming up Monday evening, tomorrow at 8 p.m. to get you quickly caught up on everything that happened this weekend. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below and hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. And while you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video? It is much appreciated when you do, and it helps us out so much when you do that. We've grown so much lately just from this coverage of Speed Weeks that we've done, from the stuff that we were there live at the track last weekend for ARCA at Daytona and K&N at New Smyrna, and then all the stuff we've done this weekend on Twitter and these shows. It has been great welcoming in all the new subscribers, followers, fans, everything. It is great, and we hope to continue to grow into the future and give you some fantastic coverage throughout this season. So with that, this has been the first Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series preview show of 2019. As always, I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.